just realised we've got a bit of a problem in the storage. But Scott, if you're still watching, can you sort the storage out? But anyway, hi, it's Phil. It's All Leeds TV, and we're here with player ratings, and we're here to talk about 3 points finally. And so there's going to be hopefully a lot of positives. Yes, Rhiannon, I know, all late TV. My bad. We went out for dinner and getting the children set hard. But we're here now. That's all that matters. So as you can see, I'm joined by the one and only Chris Kelly, and we've obviously got a lot of positives and negatives to get through, I think. And I think I'm probably going to be the negative one tonight. You're going to be the positive one, Chris.
Well,
judging yesterday.
I'll take it.
Enjoy the role of being the smiling face of All Leeds TV.
I will. Once.
Go on, like I know. Obviously, I was there to listen to bits of your show from yesterday, and obviously you went live after the final whistle, and you were all really, really positive. You're all really happy, just relieved, I think, as well. But
yeah,
what did you make of the game itself? Like, obviously, I'm going to probably bring a bit of the negativity in that I really am still very worried after yesterday. I'm not going to lie. Like, look, I'm buzzing. We've got 3 points, and we'll talk about the fixtures of the other teams around us, which might make us feel a bit better. But I'm still very concerned. And look, I'm just relieved to have got 3 points.
Yeah, and to be fair, mate, you probably find that I'm actually not too far away from you. I'm still very concerned. I said yesterday, we have to caveat this with the fact that it was Norwich.
Yeah.
And the performance now, the good bits of the performance have got to be backed up, and the bad bits that there still were have got to be sorted out. So there's still a distance to go yet before we can hopefully say that we've survived what has been a pretty dreadful season overall. But and 90% of the joyous sort of scenes yesterday on the post-match were relief. You're absolutely right. It was unbridled relief, as I think the celebrations in the ground were, on the bench, in the dugout, on the pitch. It was relief. I think Stewie Dallas said as much in his post-match interview.
Yeah.
So we've got to follow this up now. It's no good beating Norwich if we then go on another run of getting pumped all over the place. So
yeah,
but this should give the lads some confidence. It's the right way to win a game if you win it that way. However, it's not good for my heart, my hair, or anything else. I was a mess yesterday.
Yeah. I had to go for a run afterwards, mate, just to burn off the frustration. It was so annoying. I like when we conceded the goal, I sent to our group chat, I was like, oh, fuck off, Leeds. And then obviously 2 minutes later, I think in the meantime, I'd not gone to town on Jesse Marsch, but I was not happy with the substitutions. And obviously now, because of the way the game finishes, Jesse Marsch is being lauded for the substitutions. But I'm not going to go to town on them, but I'm still going to I'm not going to just change my mind overnight and say like, oh, it was a masterstroke. Like I wasn't happy with the subs at the time. And
no, and I tend to agree with you, mate. I mean, the Bamford one, I can understand bringing Bamford off. I thought Jack was okay in the second half. I thought he was better than he has been. The Koch one at the time, I know we were trying to rationalise it in the group chat, weren't we? And hopefully Jesse learns from that it completely ruined our momentum because we instantly went more defensive. And let's be honest, Norwich were absolutely there for the taking. And it should have been over at half-time. It could have been absolutely over at half-time. And then obviously Joffrey comes on and it looks like an absolutely inspired move because the kid comes on and then just goes and buries one. So, it's not 100% positive, but the players looked on board. Whatever's been said during the week after the Villa game has obviously hit home.
Yes.
A couple of the players, I would like to say, have shut me up, being one of the naysayers about them. And for now, they've shut me up. But I want to see some consistency from them. So lots of positives, mate. Yeah, but it's not all sunshine and roses.
Yeah, I think as well, like the benefit of a day's calming down, and as Rhiannon will tell you, watching that goal back over and over and over and over and over again, the benefit of hindsight just generally kind of obviously, like I've always said, I do my ratings there and then during the game, and I put a 0.5 on, take a 0.5 off, depending on what's going well and what's going wrong. And yeah, for me, like, I must admit that first half, at the end of the first half yesterday, I wasn't happy. But now looking back on it, it was a very productive first half, and the only thing that was missing was another goal or two, which realistically we deserved. And yeah, Charlie's just hit the nail on the head. Yesterday was about the result. It was about the win. And I think if you would have said to me before the game, shit performance, 3 points, I'd have been like, yeah, I'm all over that. And it wasn't a shit performance at all. Like, there was just bits of Bielsa-iness in a way, like a Bielsa Leeds performance, in that we create so many chances, clear-cut chances, brilliant chances, and it depends which statistics you look at. But like, if you look at the shots, we actually had 13 shots. They had 12, which I don't remember them having anywhere near. But when you look at the XG and stuff, the quality of chances and shit, like, obviously we should have won at least 2-0 by the looks of things. So, yeah, in terms of what we created, it was really positive. But obviously there was just that, create an abundance of chances, but hang on to a 1-0 until the 90th minute, let them have very little, and then just fucking crumble. But obviously there's good and bad bits to the fact that we've got a 19-year-old kid that looks absolutely fucking insane. But at the same time, like, I am concerned that we're relying on a 19-year-old kid to save us against, let's be honest, the worst team in this league. Like, I was at the Watford game at home, and I thought they were the worst team to come to Ellen Road this season so far. And then, you know, be honest, Norwich weren't that far away from them. They're pretty gash too. Realistically, like, in terms of quality, man for man on that pitch, and like we always said about Bielsa and the man marking and stuff, like, don't fucking do shit like that against the top six sides. But that is one side where we can basically afford to go around, swing our cock out on the pitch and still come around with a 2-1 win. Like, we should be able to. And like, I'm not sitting here trying to be disrespectful, but that is just simply the case. They are that bad. Their own fans would say they're that bad. So it was far more uncomfortable than I would have liked it to be, but also as uncomfortable as I expected it to be. So when it comes to like individual player ratings, like, I 100% agree with you. Like, there's a few players that we've castigated on here. And I'd like to think that perhaps that inspirational talk that we had the other night, maybe Jesse Marsh has rolled out Chris Kelly saying to Luke Ayling, never mind telling everyone else to calm down, you fucking calm down.
Maybe, mate. Maybe, who knows what he puts on the video screen.
Yeah, so I think, look, let's be honest, Rafinha, Rodrigo as a pair, you know, everyone's hopefully seen that image now of the two of them at full time, and fair play, as Gail's saying here, fantastic from Rafinha at times yesterday. And it is good to see that these players, regardless of the things that we've said over the last few weeks, and look, we're all emotionally connected and invested in this relegation battle. We want to see heart on that pitch, and when we don't see it, it hurts. But were you encouraged to see from especially those players that we have castigated lately, at least it looked like they fucking cared yesterday?
100%, mate. I'm here, as we all are, and when we're being what we could deem negative about players, but we're just saying what we feel and what we think at the time. I'm here to be shut up and proved wrong. I want every player that goes out on that pitch to absolutely prove me wrong and knock it out of the park, because at the end of the day, they've got the Leeds shirt on, and if they're playing well, we will do better than we have been. So, so pleased for Rodrigo. I think whatever's been said between Jesse and him this week after Villa, which Jesse did sort of allude to, that words have been had. He absolutely different player. Llorente looks far more happy, just not man for man, just playing as in a defensive four. Rafinha looked bang up for it yesterday. Jack Harrison is taking words on board and is becoming a shit house all of a sudden.
I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed that a lot.
He absolutely had Max Aarons' eyes out in that second half. It was absolutely brilliant to see.
And Max Aarons is a top defender as well, I think.
Yeah. So no, I'm 100% down for players shutting me the hell up and proving me wrong.
I have seen a couple of comments when we put the tweet out earlier saying we were doing player ratings tonight. I think I saw someone say something along the lines of, I don't want to see below a 7 for anybody. And I'm just sat here like, well, I've only got one player above a 7. So I hope people don't think I'm being negative, but I am just sort of, I'm not getting carried away with what is, look, a massive 3 points, but we've still got a hell of a long way to go. And we need to, if we're going to take 3 points off some of the teams we've got coming up, we're going to need to play like that, but be clinical. We can't afford to be seeing Raphinha hit the bar twice, and we can't afford to be seeing, yeah, Rhiannon, you're right, I am just very critical. But that's my job. Yeah, there was a lot of good things. And like I said, with the benefit of hindsight, today I've been revisiting my ratings and bumping them up 0.5 here and there, and watching match of the day and bumping it up here and there for other people. And I'm intrigued to see like the ones that I've got lower and the ones that I've got higher, whether we're the same or whether we differ. But yeah, just absolute pure relief. And that I'm getting pelters already. I haven't even fucking done them yet. The new layout will allow me to do 0.5s as and when I please, Scott. That is the benefit of player ratings. Yeah, and obviously one person that doesn't get any positivity will be Junior Firpo, because obviously we played so much better without him. Yeah, so I hope he's recovering well. Not quickly, but well. What did you think of the formation yesterday? Because to be honest, I thought it was far more fluid than the last 2 games, in that it wasn't strictly 4-2-2-2 all the time. There was clearly like aspects of 4-2-3-1 for quite a bit of the game, and then when 𝐃𝐄 came on, it seemed like we kind of went 5 at the back, which I didn't like. But 4-2-3-1, I said when Jesse Marsch first got announced, and I did the research into him, was I thought that formation out of the 2 that he uses suits us more, because we have an abundance of talented wingers, and the 4-2-2-2 restricts that. So I'd like to see a lot more of that. But do you think the fact that we got a result and we actually got a better performance in all parts, especially compared to Thursday night, it kind of comes down to the suitability of the formation to the players that we've got?
100%, mate. And there's a prime example of it when we did go into the 4-2-3-1, and that's the first goal. If you watch it, it's the long ball to Paddy, who's up top on his own, who I thought was, apart from his horrendous miss, a very Bamford-style miss, had too long to think about it. I thought he was absolutely superb up front, ran the line so well.
Yeah.
And he goes, and if you look behind him as the ball's dropping to the defender ahead, there's a line of 3 right behind him in Harrison, Rodrigo, and Dan James, I think it is. Not Harrison. Must be Rafa.
Yeah.
Just in a line, flying in behind him. 4-2-3-1. There you go. Straight in behind the striker, second ball, and then obviously it gets buried. So I much preferred it yesterday, mate. We looked compact and narrow when we needed to be, but in transition, we widened the pitch really well at times. So you can just see more of his influence coming in, can't you, and what he wants to achieve? Because I think he said they didn't execute the game plan at all against Villa. It was nothing. So it wasn't that the game plan failed against Villa as such. It was they just didn't execute it how he wanted it. So, and they're still learning. So there's got to be this period of learning and getting used to it. And it was nice to see elements yesterday of a lot of Jesse ball and the way he likes to play football. But the Bielsa DNA is still there as well. There was times where there was just players all over the place. Stuart Dallas, absolute machine yesterday. Unbelievable levels from Stuart Dallas. So, it was... I much prefer it that way. We looked more fluid, and like you say, I think that suits the way, especially going forward, that suits our players.
Yeah. I think what German said here is bang on. Patrick Bamford, for me, like, I still think he looked like he was lacking a bit of match sharpness, not fitness, just sharpness. And obviously you saw that with the finishing, probably a little bit, the only chance he got on Thursday night as well. And then the couple of times he was on it. But especially that link up for when Raphinha hit the bar, I thought the thing that people used to throw at Bamford when we were in the Championship was that he couldn't finish. But Bielsa always used to say, and I used to be so much in agreement with him, was Patrick Bamford is obviously a striker. He's there to score goals, but the difference he makes to the team by the way he puts himself about, chases people, and presses and holds the ball up. And obviously Ian Wright did a big thing on it last night on Match of the Day. And I actually think Bamford will come off the pitch feeling quite disappointed. First of all, that he only lasted 45 minutes. I think he'd want to last longer, and that he's not quite got that sharpness yet. But generally speaking, it's so refreshing to see a team that has been absolutely dying for their striker all season to have that striker up there. And nobody suits our role like him.
Yeah, we've been saying it across the channel now for 2-3 seasons, haven't we? That we are a better team, a far better team with Patrick Bamford up front. And any time in the past where he was subbed, you just saw it all go to shit because we just didn't have that influence up front. And I can't remember where I saw it now because I've watched that much content over the last 24 hours of everyone reviewing the game and all that. But he's a leader as well. Maybe not a vocal leader and someone who shouts and screams, but he's a leader.
By example.
He does, mate, and he drags that team up the pitch with the way he holds the ball and brings other players in into the game. So and I do agree with Jesse bringing him off after 45 minutes. I think it's important we look after him, bed him back in slowly. The last thing we'd want is, that's it, he's out for the rest of the season, because far better team with Patrick in the team.
Hugely. And that's the thing. It wasn't, my frustration yesterday was not with the substitutions and who they took off. Like, I thoroughly understood and didn't expect either Bamford or Rodrigo to play more than an hour. Because let's be honest, Rodrigo's hardly ever finished more than an hour, no matter which manager's been in charge this season or last. And obviously Bamford is just coming back. So I'm not surprised that either of them came off, but it was the nature of the changes. And obviously, if you're taking both of our strikers off at 1-0, when, let's be honest, the game wasn't won and we had momentum, and we could have either kept the momentum and kept pushing Norwich back, which obviously stops them having chances, or just go for the second. And I understand, like, we're not going all gung-ho anymore, which there's sensibility to that, which is fine. But don't bring both of our strikers off and not bring Joffrey on. Please just bring, and like, I was really happy with Harrison when he came on. I actually thought he had a great game. And I can't sit here and say Robin Koch had a bad game either. It was just that for me, the changes that needed making was, if you're going to take both them two off, I don't care which time it is, just bring Joffrey on. And obviously when their equaliser goes in and then he gets Joffrey up, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing that now for? It should have happened half an hour ago. And yes, it's an inspired substitution, but it's so late and he's got a bit lucky with it, to be honest. But we are very, very lucky to have such a talented young player in our team, and fingers crossed we hold on to him for many, many years to come.
I'm also, well, we'll talk about Joffrey. I'm not on Twitter, but I can see Twitter, and I'm loving his Lynn Gelhardt is the new darling, isn't she?
She is.
We obviously had Granny Fowl, bless her, and we've got the sort of new darling of the families. So he's a superb talent, mate, and I hope he's around for a long, long time. He looks really happy at the club. Yeah. His little face, mate, when he's running off after scoring and he's looking at the bench and all the subs and everyone coming at him, I'm just like, yes, mate. Yeah. Absolutely loved it.
I said to Ellie yesterday, actually, last night when we were watching Match of the Day and I was scrolling through Twitter, I was like, if I could be anybody in this world right now, it would probably be Lynn Gelhardt. Because I've obviously got kids. You've met my son. My son's 5. And I don't ever expect him to play for Leeds United. But that feeling of watching your son, and look, I know they're not born Leeds fans, but you become ingrained with the club, don't you? Watching your son as a 19-year-old boy come off the bench in a Premier League game in the 92nd minute when the team and the stadium has just been deflated like that in a relegation battle, she's got 2 or 3 minutes to watch her son try and do something magic. And let's be honest, he's got no right to win that header with Ben Gibson. No right whatsoever. And look, Rafa does brilliantly in going past the defender, going around the keeper and squaring it back to him. But don't sit here and think that goal was all Rafinha. That goal is all Joffrey Gelhardt's work as well. And like you said, it's the look on his face. It's the I'm a kid. That's the celebration of a kid.
Yeah, it's just you can tell in that minute where he's running to the corner that he's got no idea what he's doing or how he's going to celebrate or anything. It's just pure unbridled joy coming out of him. And when we play football on the park as a kid and you dream of, potentially, hopefully playing for your club that you support and all that, it's for those moments. They're what kids dream of. As much as it's all about money, etc. now is football. And yes, people have to get paid. We can all argue about how much, but it doesn't matter how much you get paid when that happens to you. He must be absolutely on cloud nine, the kid. And it's been coming for him. That moment's been coming. And you're right, mate. The header, because it's not just a flick on, it's a directed header right into Rafinha's path. It's absolutely brilliant. And it's even when he follows Rafinha into the box, you see the natural striker.
And he
slows down, hits the penalty spot, slows down, composes himself, stands in the space, and it's not a tap in, but it's an easier finish because he's positioned himself properly. He's not stood on the edge of the box waiting for the cutback or anything like that, which other players do because they haven't got that instinct. He gets in the right place and puts his laces through it. Pity he didn't hit the player who'd fallen in the back of the net. Well, he did it just for a laugh.
But obviously, he's had a couple of them moments, off the bench. And I saw somebody a minute ago, and I'll flash it up. Johnny Edwards, I actually really agree with this. Look, I'm all for the people that say get him more minutes, get him on the pitch. But I've always said the whole way through, look, I don't want him being kept on the bench until the 92nd minute. But at the same time, I don't want to see him start games because I think he's the biggest impact sub we have. So for me at half time, if a game needs changing, which we saw in flashes against Aston Villa, I know it ended very badly, but he did light things up for about 15, 20 minutes. And then obviously when it comes to Chelsea away and like that celebration, like you said, he didn't know how to celebrate. He's got Tyler Roberts just pushing him into the fans like, go on, lad, get in there. But, Wolves at home comes off the bench and wins as a penalty late on. And I think as an impact sub, if it's got to an hour and we're not winning by more than a goal, Joffy's on every time for me. And
I also think that's good management of him. And I do agree, mate. I mean, obviously, unless we're absolutely sure and he needs to play from the start, then it does make sense that 30 minutes to play, if it's not going right, then he can make an impact. But it's also managing him as well. Because the minute we see him in a starting lineup, the expectation goes up from fans. Rightly or wrongly, we're all like, that's it. Joffrey hat-trick today. Then he doesn't get it. And if he had 3 or 4 bad games, I'm not saying fans would turn on him, but the mumbling start, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, actually, it's, flashing the pan and all that. It does happen. We see it all the time with young players. So I think it's right to manage him. Pep did exactly the same with Phil Foden. Brought him in slowly, and Phil Foden's next level. He's an unbelievable talent, and pretty much any other team in the Premier League, that kid's playing at 17 years old.
Yeah, but all you heard was he needs to go out on loan. He needs to go out on loan, and that haunted him for years.
Yeah, and Pep just managed him in, and now look at him now. He's some talent, like he's a future Ballon d'Or winner, that lad, without a doubt, is Phil Foden. And I'd like to see Joffrey get treated the same by our management and just bed him in gently. And I think Jesse will. He's very big on player management and all the rest of it. So,
absolutely, and Scott's absolutely right there. I had forgotten that, but originally when they showed you the bench just before the board went up for stoppage time and Norwich got their goal, it was Shackleton actually being told to get his kit off and everything. And obviously, it was only when they equalised. So it's a master stroke of luck, but we will take it. And look. It's a deserved 3 points, and I'm not going to go down the road of, God forbid, if Joffrey didn't score, what we'd be sat here saying now. But that it's the difference between all of us sitting here now and going, season's over. We are down to that gives us a bit of hope. And I'm not going to take away everything that I know Scott's going to delve into later on in the week, but the fixture list that I think Scott actually sent to our group earlier, and you look at all the fixtures of the teams around us, and a lot of people will look at that table and see Everton with 3 games in hand, Burnley with 2 games in hand, and still be a bit concerned. But I'll be honest, mate, that running of Everton's in particular, with the form that they are in and the absolute, as Biggie Jesus just said here, Everton are in deep shit, and we still need to rely on teams around us to drop points and to be shit. But yeah, in all honesty, you've got to feel a little bit of encouragement from the fact that we dug deep, we got 3 points, and this is the first time in a few weeks now where an opportunity has presented itself with other teams around us completely bottling it, bar Watford and a good result at Southampton. And you've got to feel confident that we've got at least a chance, whereas after Villa, we all sat there and went, nah, we're done.
Yeah, I was broken after Villa. I think what we need to do now is, with Everton being in such bad form, is not give them a lift by us being poor. So if we go to Wolves or whatever and we come away with something, that just, again, it just sits in Everton players' minds. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Or Leeds are picking up points now and pulling away from us, stuff like that. So we've got to take the opportunity of a Friday night kickoff, playing before anyone else, stuff like that. Yeah, yes, it's another game in hand that they've got for 24 hours or whatever. But if we take something away, it's a bigger gap points-wise. And it gets in there. We've seen it with our players over the 6 games before yesterday. It gets in your head and it messes.
Yeah, the rock sets in.
Yeah.
As Johnny said here, though, I think Watford you can take out of that. I do think Watford are down, and deservedly so. They're a terrible team. But I think it's 18th place is between us, Burnley and Everton. And I never thought I'd hear the words Everton in that sentence, in all honesty. They've never been relegated in their entire history. And just this once, if it could be Fat Frank to take them down, oh, the sweet justice that would give all of us.
Yeah. You know what, mate? It'd actually be a mega season, wouldn't it? We finish 17th and Frank gets them relegated. I'll take that.
Oh, it'd be brilliant. And he's won 1 game, obviously, since he's taken over. No prizes for guessing who that was against. But it's nice to see that he turns up to play Bielsa and Leeds and then just gets them relegated. It would be about time. Look, I didn't have a problem with Everton until he went there. But now...
No, I didn't either. No, not at all.
But you've always got to, no matter how uninspiring the football is, you've always got to feel like Sean Dyche will save Burnley. And that's a worry. And then obviously, with Everton, it's usually just looking at the size of the club. And like Scott's just said, I don't want necessarily to see Everton get relegated, but I'd love to see a relegation with a giant club of English football on Frank Lampard's CV.
They would absolutely ruin his career. Absolutely ruin his career.
Yeah, and we've got John in the chat. Sorry, it's just skipped away from me. They've still got some winnable games against teams in and around them, but I mean, looking at our running, we've got 3 that, in all honesty, the Arsenal game doesn't worry me quite as much now as it used to, because I don't think we'll do the whole daft man marking thing that just gets us pummeled. So at least that gives us faith. But I still think obviously Chelsea and Man City probably smashes. Obviously, by the time we play Arsenal, the season's pretty much over, and they probably already secured top 4. Whereas Chelsea, I don't see them wanting to drop points at that point. And then obviously City are probably still going to go head to head with Liverpool for the title, a point between them most likely. So yeah, it's going to be tight still. It's still not going to be an easy ride, but we've given ourselves a fighting chance with that result.
That's it. And that's all we could do yesterday, is get the 3 points and give ourselves that fighting chance and take the confidence boost and everything else. So, yeah.
Yeah. And obviously, the first 3 points for Jesse Marsch as well, which is massive. 3 games in, people all say that he's had a bad start. Look, it's only 3 games in. Technically, it's 3 points from 3 now. He's averaged a point per game. If we forget that Aston Villa ever happened, we'd actually be quite happy. It's just because Aston Villa was so bad. But look, we'll get into the player ratings then. And we'll start, of course, with Illan Meslier. And guys, if you're in the comments, play along, send us your ratings in as well. And I expect to see a lot of people's telling me to stop being so mean. But I'm probably going to be mean to a few people. Illan Meslier is probably going to be one of the first I'm not very nice to. But go on, Chris, I'll let you go first.
I've given him a 6.5, mate. And that's not me slating him. I think he had a pretty quiet game, to be honest. The positive for me is because I was whinging about him. I think maybe 60 minutes in, even when he was kicking the ball long, he's just chipping it down the middle. If you're going to kick it long, kick it long. And then for Joffrey's goal, he puts his foot through it. And that's what I want to see. If we're going to go long and hit the front man, then let's make sure the ball gets there. But he's learning. He's been very used to chipping it out to the wings. He needs to get a bit better on his right foot. However, I'm pleased to see him putting his right foot through it rather than Cruyff turning every 3 minutes to get it onto his left. So there's positives there. There's stuff for him to work on. He must be feeling more confident now. He's not, conceding 3-4 a game like he had been recently, and not all on him. I think Stu Dallas said that he'd taken it quite hard and quite personal the last couple of months. So if we get Meslier back to his best and he's on way, then great. But 6.5 from me, mate. Just a decent performance.
Yeah. Oh, so far I've seen you and one other person have gone 6.5 and pretty much everyone else has gone 7. So my 5 is going to go down an absolute stinker here, but I've given him a 5. I thought every time the ball was, Jesus Christ, Scott's gone 8.5. 1 minute. Scott, I thought we weren't allowed 0.5s. What are you doing? And Chris gave one as well, just saying. I haven't yet. No, I thought every time the ball was at his feet, it was going to go out for a throw-in. Every time without fail. And the only one that I can really put my finger on that didn't was the one that leads to the winning goal. I know people will credit him with a save in the dying seconds, but let's be honest, Teemu Pukki's got to bury that. And he's kicked it at Meslier's face. So I'm not going to credit Meslier with a save when he's just sort of had a ball twatted at his face. As a goalkeeper, I'm still very much happy that he is, apart from maybe Donnarumma, for the amount of minutes he's playing and for the amount of shots he's actually going to have to stop, bearing in mind how bad our defending is at times. I still think he's the second best goalkeeper of his age in Europe, if not the world. And I'm really excited that we've got him. But yeah, I mean, I can only assume from kind of how our first goal comes about that instead of the direct passing out to those front four that we were talking about being on the floor, I can only assume that we are going a bit more long ball. And that suits Llorente, which you see for Bamford goal. But it doesn't, to me, suit Meslier, or at least it hasn't yet. So I think his distribution with his feet has really got to improve, and I don't want to see balls flying out for a throw-in every time he touches the ball, which I did yesterday. So I'm refreshed that there's a few people at least giving different ratings, so I'm not the only one. But yeah, I wasn't entirely Dad, thank you. It's not just me. I wasn't entirely happy with his performance, I'll be honest, and I'd like to think the distribution, they've got a few days now to perhaps work on that. So we'll move to right back, and obviously this was the first time we saw the skipper Luke Ayling back at right back under Jesse Marsh. And what did you make of Luke Ayling? I think it's going to be a mixed bag because there's good bits and bad bits. But
and that's exactly what it is, mate. It's a mixed bag, more positive than negative, which is the polar opposite to Thursday. Where there was very mixed sort of thoughts around Luke Ayling against Villa. Some people thought he was the best player for us, and I didn't agree. I don't think you did either.
No.
Happy to see him back at right back. Still needs to calm down a little bit. He gets a little bit overexcited at the back with the ball. Again, you've said Meslier kicking it out of play. Luke can be just as guilty of that, trying to put it down the line, and it ends up knocking some poor bloke out in the front row of the East Stand. So he just needs to calm down. I've given him a 6, which is one of my lower ones for yesterday. He just needs to improve, mate. He just needs to find but let's be honest, apart from the odd occasion this season, Luke's not been great most of the season. He's definitely not had the form of the previous 2 seasons before that, or even 3 seasons. So it's going to be an interesting end to the season for Luke, because I think he's got a point to prove before a transfer window opens under a new manager. And there are more important positions to fill than Luke's at the minute in that squad, mainly the other side of the defence. But he's got to improve, mate. So I gave him a 6, and I think I've probably been slightly generous with that.
Yeah, I think you've been a little bit generous, but I can see why you've gone. Look, as Charlie said actually in one of the comments up there I flashed before. We've gone into that a million times, Steve. So you've heard us all say that. But as Charlie said before, look, it's a vast improvement on the Villa performance. This is the comment I'm on about. Charlie chatting Leeds. If you haven't checked him out, go check him out. But yeah, the level of improvement from a lot of people from Thursday night, it was substantial. But I've given him a 5. And like you said, Chris, the thing for me is calm down. My dad spent most of the game watching it with me going, is he being, because he came out in, I don't know if you saw it, but before the game, he did the pre-match interview, and he was saying about, I think the lads all just need to be really calm today. Yeah. And then every time he had the ball, my dad's like, he don't listen to a word he says, does he? Because he isn't calm. And like, look, let's be honest, that penalty was never a fucking penalty. And finally, he has actually got to a right decision and not fucked us for the first time all season, which is nice. Yeah. But and he said it himself. He came out after the game and he said it himself. Yeah, I shouldn't have slid in there. I was just trying to block a shot, but there wasn't a shot coming. So just don't fucking fly in. And that wasn't the only time, you know. There was when Jonathan Rowe hit the bar. And look, a lot of the defence is going to get pelters off me. Not pelters, but marked down because of what was happening. When the ball's in our box, it's just pure and utter chaos. Yeah. They all just scramble and fly around and fall over everywhere and try and block things. And it's just like, can you actually be sure that there's going to be a shot first before you lay on the floor? Because it's not nice watching Matthias Norman run past you and lie inside our 6-yard box. Can you just not? So yeah, look, the leadership, I'm not going to go on that again. Liam Cooper, hopefully, if he's not back for Wolves, will definitely be back for Southampton at home, and that's a big boost. But yeah, I've given Llorente a 5, and I'll be honest, again, it might not be popular. I'm going on to Diego Llorente next, who I've given the same number to. And I think people might disagree with me. I saw a lot more positives from Llorente, and I'm going to be the first to hold my hands up and say that those two and the numbers they get, maybe they are coming from a place of, that's how I feel about those two players now. So maybe I am going to be extra harsh on them too. I can say big improvement from Llorente compared to the last few times I've seen him, but that really isn't me saying much. What did you make of Diego yesterday?
Better than his last few performances. But I agree, when the ball's pinging around in our box, it's just carnage. It really is. And I think he doesn't help that because, again, much like Bill recently, he hasn't got a calm head on his shoulders. No. He gets into a blind flat. I've given him a 6, mate, for the same reasons, really. I've given Bill a 6. The ball towards Bamford and that style of play sits great in Llorente's sort of ballpark. He loves a long ball. And he will be useful in that, but he's got to sort his head out and just calm down. And he's a good footballer and he can be a good defender. We've seen him do it last season. So just calm the fuck down and just play simple football. It doesn't have to be dramatic all the time. So much improved, mate. I think he will improve under Jesse Marsch because I think the system suits him. So
yeah, I agree.
A good first step. And again, I think probably talking for the majority of these players, they're trying to find some confidence again as well. So I think there are going to be elements of mad flaps when things aren't going right and all the rest of it. So a little bit of leeway there. But yeah, he's an international defender. He needs to be a little bit better than he was.
That's the thing. It's just the pure chaos that go. And it's only really defensively for me yesterday. It just seems to sometimes they just flap. But yeah, with Llorente, look, I'll be honest, like I said, and like you've said, I think his style of play and that passing really does suit this system a lot more than perhaps some of the other centre-backs. So we are probably going to see a lot more of Diego Llorente, whether we like it or not. And obviously, if he's going to keep improving, then perhaps that or not goes away. I'm more than happy to give people credit when they deserve it. But defensively, he still worries me. That Jonathan Rowe hitting the bar moment, that comes from Teemu Pukki peeling off and running in behind him. I mean, I've watched Teemu Pukki for a number of years now, and I don't think Teemu Pukki's all that quick.
He's also flat-footed for their goal as well. He gets caught there.
Yeah, and then obviously for who is it that scores the goal? What's his fucking name? Kenny McLean. Again, another player that's not the quickest, and he just sort of switches off and lets him run in. So Gail's particularly happy with me talking bad about her boyfriend. But look, I'm sorry, I'm not convinced. The chaos that happens when he's on the ball. Like my dad has never been that big into football until recently, the last couple of years, and even my dad was making the joke like Luke Ayling comes out in one tweet and says I want everyone to be calm, and then the next tweet is the lineup and Llorente is in it, and my dad's like, calm? Diego Llorente? Not sure that's the best combination, but look, yeah, hopefully he'll suit the system and we'll see an improvement. And then, Gail, I promise you, once there is a considerable improvement and we've stayed up, I will get off his back for you. So there's a promise that I intend to keep. Pascal Struijk, then. I'm intrigued, bearing in mind what you've given the other two, if you go higher, lower, or the same for Pascal, because obviously there was the goal. Again, it's him that gets peeled off by Pukki this time, and then Llorente loses his man and they score. There was a couple more of them left-footed floated balls out of play for a throw-in. I think, obviously, he got sent out to do the pre-match interview and the post-match interview last time. And I think his confidence has taken a bit of a knock, to be honest.
I do as well. Yeah. I've given him 6.5, so slightly higher than the other two. I think across the whole game, he was slightly better.
Yeah.
And he is, we've said it before, and we've waxed lyrical about Pascal on this channel. He's a Rolls Royce of a defender, and when he gets that confidence back, we will see the proper Pascal again. And by God, that kid needs a goal.
Yeah.
And I actually knocked him down half a point because he should score that. I don't care that it's on his right foot. I don't care he's a central defender. Just stab at it with your studs or something. But it's good to see him being threatening from set pieces. I will say that. The last couple of games, he's really looked threatening from our set pieces. So slightly higher than the other two. And again, that might be just the way I feel about them, much like you said, mate. I've got more time for Pascal at the minute. He's a young kid. He's still learning his trade. Luke and Diego have been around the block a few times and should be the calmer heads. We've got to remember Pascal's still only 21, something like that. So 6.5 for me, mate, but still plenty to improve on, which is a good thing as well. There's room to improve. So, yeah.
As you can see, Victor Otter's with us again tonight. He's gone 7 for Pascal. And John has just absolutely nailed my rating. The same as you, though, Chris. I gave 5s for Ayling and Llorente. And like I've said, perhaps that's the way I feel about them. And it just comes out subconsciously. I'm not meaning for it to, but maybe. But I have gone 0.5 higher for Pascal. So it makes me feel a bit better that you've done the same. But yeah, he is a big physical presence from both defensive and offensive corners. And the fact that he's only ever scored for us once is mental. Like, obviously, big bullet header against Arsenal last year to inspire the comeback that never came. But yeah, he's long overdue a goal this season. And that exact same situation that happened yesterday has happened so many times this season, where he wins the header, it's saved, and it comes back out, and we just can't turn it in. And whether that's Pascal himself or someone else trying to follow it in, we do need to start taking those chances between now and the end of the season. So as always, pretty much 90% of his defensive output yesterday I was happy with. The floated pass out of play into the East Stand needs to stop, because that's, I think there was a comment before that I flashed up actually that sat really well with exactly what it said, in that he's not quite playing to the level that we know he's capable of at the minute, because we've seen, even in performances where we've been dick 5, 6, 7-0, he still looked like an absolutely top quality defender. And he's got calm on the ball. And yeah, I think he needs to, like you said, calm down a little bit, be a bit better and braver on the ball, and At the same time, defensively, I don't want to pin all of it on him. It's a mixture of him, Llorente, and a few other people not really switched on for the goal late on. But, 𝐃𝐎𝐿 𝐄𝐄 runs away from him and he looks like he's running in treacle. So there's improvement, definitely. But like you said, he is young. And realistically, we've got a £50 million centre back there for me now and in the future, only going up. So I'd love to see us hang on to him and really make him a mainstay of the team in the years to come, and don't let him go. So moving on to left back, and I'll be honest, it's the highest I've gone in the back four, and I'm sensing from what you said briefly before that it's going to be the same for you. What have you given for Stuart Dallas left back? I've given him a
7.5, mate. I thought he was just a machine yesterday. He looks. And do you know what? That left-hand side just looks better with him there. He seems to understand the position really well, both defensively, but also going forward. He gave real width on that left-hand side at times. His passion from the dugout cam, when Joffrey's goal goes in and he's just lie on the floor beating the ground, and then it looks like he gives one of the coaching staff a right hook who tries to grab him. And again, after the Villa game, I was like, what's happened to Stuart Dallas? Do you know what I mean? And the Stuart Dallas we all know, and of course we all love for what he's done over the last couple of seasons, was back yesterday. Now, a lot of people said about Bill feeling the weight of the armband on him, and I do agree that armband weighs heavily on Bill. Stuart Dallas is a leader and understands how to lead. This is how you do it, and he was unreal yesterday. And I think he ties that left-back spot down for the rest of the season. I don't care if Junior Firpo becomes fit again. That if we're going to have potentially Calvin back soon, and we've got Forsh there, and Click, who had a great game yesterday, then there's no reason why Stewie can't own that left-back position for the rest of the season. And he looks more than happy there. So, 7.5 for me, mate. I thought he was brilliant yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much, if me and you could have coordinated on these ratings, it's looking very much like we have already, because I'm literally one below you on everything. So I've gone 6.5. That's not me saying I didn't think he had a good game. I thought he was very good. And another point that we made watching the game yesterday as a family, we actually watched it, me, my brother, my mum and my dad, probably first time since we were kids. But we all sort of said, like, if Luke Ayling doesn't have that leadership, I can tell you now one person that does, and it's Stuart Dallas. I would love to see Stuart Dallas wear the armband. Let's be honest, it's not going to happen because they're not going to change now. But at left back, I think the last two games have let him down because he's been played in out of the three positions that he plays most often. For me, that's the one that he suits the least at right back. And we've had a right back playing next to him that should have been there. So it made far more sense. I know it's only happened because Firpo's got injured, to see him either at centre midfield or at left back, where I think that notorious third man running that he does, the link up between him, Jack Harrison and Matthias Klick has been something that's been worked on from 2018, 2019. Those three have been together now for a considerable length of time. And you can tell that the link up between them, and actually I thought Rodrigo dropped in and linked up well with those two before Harrison came on yesterday. And I just think on that side of the pitch, what we've always seen from Luke Ayling when he's in form, linking up with Click on that side as well, or Calvin, and then Rafinha on the right last season when we were really good. I think the link up on the left-hand side is actually more natural. It looks like they know what they're doing when they play together. And a lot of it, under Bielsa, we all heard about what Scott Parker said about us when it was scripted movements. But as much as we all think, fuck off, Parker, he isn't actually wrong. It was kind of scripted. They knew where they were going to pass. They knew where they were going to go. Dallas was going to pass it to Harrison. And then Harrison ends up becoming the left back because Dallas bombs on. And Click ends up out on the left of midfield, and Dallas ends up becoming the centre mid. And that became something that we still saw a lot of that yesterday. So, when you say it's still got that Bielsa DNA, of course it does. Those three are linking up very much the same, even in a different system. So, I just think having him there on that side of the pitch can only be a good thing between now and the end of the season. And let's be honest, there is nobody else now to play that role. Maybe Helder when he's fit, but Stuart Dallas, regardless of form or the quality of the player and what you think of Gelhardt. I just think Stuart Dallas has started every game so far this season and probably will and should start every game till now and the end of the season if he's fit. You can't drop him, which, a few years ago you'd have laughed at. You'd have thought, I'll be honest, before Bielsa came, I thought he was a squad player at best in the Championship and now starts every game in the Premier League for me. So, I was really happy with his performance. And we'll move into the double pivot. And I'll start with Forshaw because I've just talked about Klich being on that left-hand side more. So we'll go Forshaw on the right. What did you make of Adam Forshaw?
Better than against Villa. Looked forward a little bit more, looked more solid and composed. I didn't see that much of him, which I take as a good thing. There wasn't any real standout stuff, really. There was a few nice turns, like he does, away from trouble and then gets rid of the ball. But I don't remember seeing that much of Forshaw, and I take that as a positive because it means he's just doing the simple things right, moving the ball around. So I gave him a 6.5 on the fact that I remember him doing a couple of good things. I don't remember him doing anything bad, and I started him on a 6. So 6.5, mate. But he's absolutely born for that position. I think he will only get better, with a Calvin next to him, something like that. So, he's very good. He just did what he needed to do. Yeah, exactly. Did what he had to do.
Yeah. I'm starting to sense that you've taken my way of doing player ratings. You start everyone on a 6 and you go up 0.5 when they do something good, take 0.5 off when they do something bad.
And that's all I could do for Forshaw because I couldn't remember him doing much at all. So I was like, just start him on a 6 and then push him up a bit.
Fair enough. I mean, this comment I've just flashed up there has basically taken my script away from me. I've given him a 7. So it's the first one I've gone above you, actually. But I thought more. I agree with everything you said. Obviously, on the ball, didn't really do anything to light up the game. His passing was more assured than it was the other night, which isn't difficult. There was still a few times where he was reluctant to go forward and kept going backward. And obviously, when it comes to the turn and just sort of slowing things down in this kind of system, I don't think that's necessarily what Jesse Marsch wants from him. So I'm intrigued to see how that develops. But for me, every time when we said about Villa, that Leeds were not just second, but third and fourth to every second ball on Thursday night. Adam Forshaw, for me, was first to every second ball. Him personally as well, like every time. You could guarantee if one of their players got tackled or if one of their players had a loose pass and we intercepted it, every single time we regained possession, it seemed to be Adam Forshaw for me. So I thought he was absolutely brilliant yesterday. And look, to be honest, since he's come back from injury, he's basically been brilliant every week. So that was much more like the Adam Forshaw that we know and love in comparison to the one we saw at Villa. We'll just have to count Villa for everybody as just an anomaly and just hope it never fucking repeats itself, which really fucking hope it doesn't, but can't say I don't see it coming. What did you give Matthias Klich? I'm not too far away from with Klich and Forshaw. I think they were both similar. I've gone slightly lower, but
so I've gone the same at 6.5, and that's a good 6.5 as well. I thought he did his job really, really well yesterday. Looked more energetic than recently, looked more composed on the ball. Love his sprint down the line when Joffrey scored. He's got the lad needs to sprint like that in the game, I'm not going to lie. But he was up and down the pitch. And again, much like Forshaw, mate, did the job he'd been asked to do, I think. I thought he was just really solid. So, I've given him the same as Forshaw, mate, a 6.5, pretty much all the same reasons.
Yeah, I've gone same number as you and pretty much same justification. That probably hits the nail on the head. Best game for ages for Matthias Klich. And if it was a game where as a team perhaps we took advantage more than we did, I probably could have gone higher. But like I said, linked up well with that left-hand side. The shot that Dan James has on target and forces a good save out of Tim Krul, actually, I thought Klich had made a good run, and I probably would have fed Klich in. And
it was actually Klich who won that ball as well with his press.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and one of the older players in the team as well. You can't really fault the work rate and the pressing from 𝐃𝐎𝐿. That's never really been something that's been thrown at him. It's just unfortunately that midfield over the last year or so. And look, I'm still sat here with him behind me. That's one of the downfalls of having Bielsa in charge, that our midfield was basically non-existent. It was either brilliant going forward or non-existent going back. So, yeah, I think if anyone's going to have come in for a rough ride during the back end of the Bielsa period, it will have been the midfielders because, let's be honest, they got molested most of the time. So you are going to see an improvement when the midfield isn't just being cut open time after time. So that's me giving a compliment to Jesse Marsch there in some way about that midfield. So I'm hoping people have remembered that. It is a compliment. We'll move on to the right-hand side. And I sort of struggled to pin down who was where because it seemed to me like they were on the other side this time. I thought Rafa was on the left and James on the right.
He swapped a couple of times, I think.
Yeah, so it kept swapping around. But just because he's always on the right, I'm going to start with Rafinha. So I'll let you talk about Rafinha first, and then we'll do James next.
Okay, so I'd give Rafa a 7.5, almost back to his scintillating best yesterday, certainly in patches yesterday.
Yeah.
None of the petulance that we saw against Villa. Definitely had his head screwed on. I think words might have been had with Rafa as well from Jesse over the last couple of days.
Big time.
So creative, so unlucky. I mean, maybe not with the one where he shoots onto his own foot. Probably should score the one where he hits the bar the first time, and the free kick's absolutely delicious and an inch lower and it goes in off the bar rather than bouncing over. But I just thought his link up with, he seemed to really enjoy Bamford being there. It seemed to really, really suit Rafa coming off of Bamford and collecting the ball. He looks so happy playing with a confident or a better Rodrigo as well. Them two really click together. Just far, far better, mate.
That's nice to see as well, that comment from John. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and you mentioned it right at the beginning, mate. The picture of him and Rodrigo on the knees at the end hugging told me everything, mate. And it shuts me up, and I'm happy to be shut up because I've called Rafa out as well recently, saying clearly his head's elsewhere. He's already gone. Well, yesterday showed me that that's definitely not the case. So kudos to him. And we'll obviously speak about Rodrigo in a minute. But yeah, I thought he did brilliant. So composed for Joffrey's goal. He could have sort of flashed at it and tried to bury it himself, but he didn't. He just composed himself, put it on Joffrey's left foot. When we've got a good Rafa, we're a better team. And I think when you put good players around him, like Patrick Bamford, who creates that space for him because he stretches the back four, he looks a better player as well. So, yeah, really pleased for Rafa. I hope he takes a lot of confidence from yesterday.
Yeah. Look, I agree with a lot of what's been said. I said 6.5, but then I've been toying with the idea of maybe bumping it up to a 7 because I was happy with him. Look, the free kick, the bits that I can mark him down for, which you wouldn't necessarily mark someone down for, is hitting the bar twice. That free kick I have seen 3 times this season in the flesh at Ellen Road. It's every fucking week. And I was jokingly saying to my brother yesterday, like, you know, when they say about penalties and free kicks and how did David Beckham get so good at free kicks? Practice time and time and time again. And Rafinha hitting the bar from that position with a left-footed free kick in the same spot 4 times in one fucking season. Just get one in.
It'd be good on Soccer AM, wouldn't he? Old school Soccer AM with a crossbar challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. I still thought a couple of the corner deliveries were a bit iffy. But generally speaking, from set pieces,
I think to be honest, probably with those deliveries, we're always going to get those at times because of the pace he tries to put on the ball. So sometimes he's not catching it quite right. He doesn't beat the first man. It needs to beat the first man. He's a Brazilian international at the end of the day, but I can understand why it happens from time to time. And it was always happening, but at least he got a few decent ones in yesterday.
And then obviously the link up with Bamford for, again, the next one that hits the bar. Look, I think the build up between them and the connection there is brilliant. I know it sounds really harsh, but I think he does have to finish that. He is quite close. And earlier in the season, that flies in the back of the net. So, Yeah, look, a vast improvement, and I'm not sit here questioning whether he wants to impress Bayern Munich anymore. Look, I think he's just got to get his head down between now and the end of the season and prove to himself that he's worth the 60, 70, 80 million pounds that we were talking about earlier in the season, rather than the I'll take 20 mil for him and drive him to you that I said last week. So, yeah, there is an absolute world class player in there. So, yeah, John's just said some very encouraging player ratings so far. So maybe we're not as negative as I thought I'd been.
No,
but
I think we're being quite sensible, mate, because there was an opportunity to get carried away here as well, and there'd be 8s and 9s flying all over the shop, and we couldn't really do that when we said right at the beginning there's still a lot to improve on. So I think we're being semi-sensible, mate. Yeah,
and obviously it was nice to see the Leeds United side of fuck it, let's just bottle it because we can. But then it was nice to see the not so Leeds United side of who's falling apart now. Because normally when people sing "You're Not Singing Anymore" or Leeds are falling apart, I just sit and look at the away fans like, you are absolutely right. So, it's nice to have proved them wrong. Obviously, I think you made the joke earlier. It's brilliant to hear them singing on Joe Gelhardt's goal. You're not singing anymore. At the start of that video, so that's funny. Dan James, then what did you give Dan James? I mean, he rarely gets anything under 6.5 on this show, just because we love how much that little fucker runs.
Mate, I've got so much time for this kid. I absolutely love him, and it's all because of his endeavour, because we know he can be better in the decisive moments. We know he can make better decisions. He should put click in, whereas he takes the shot and tries to bend it in the corner, stuff like that. But I just can't help but love the kid. He just never, and he's a nasty little bastard as well.
I know, it's brilliant.
I absolutely love it. I thought he was, apart from, again, the decisive moments yesterday, I thought he was absolutely electric. Another player who's going to suit the Jesse Marsch system. Yeah. Because he's an outball. If he can find width, it's just, that for Rodrigo's goal, he starts as the header comes down, he starts about 5 yards behind Rodrigo, and within 10 yards, he's a couple of yards ahead of him. He's so quick. Yeah. I've tried to be sensible about it and not get excited, because I absolutely rate the kid massively for the effort he puts in. So I've given him a 6.5 because I think he can be better decision making. But if Marsch can work on that with him and build his confidence in those final third areas, he'll be worth every penny of that 25 million. Absolutely worth every penny. I think he's unreal.
This is perhaps where, when I was saying earlier about Llorente and Ayling, where perhaps sentiment comes into it. Maybe I've gone higher than you, mate. I've given him a 7. Maybe that's where it comes in. My missus is, what she was like with Alioski last season. Dan James is her new one. And at first it was just like, I just like him. He reminds me of Alioski because he's a bit of a shit house.
I'll actually go with 7 as well. He does deserve one. Yeah, I will.
Yeah. For me as well, like the same as my missus. Like, I don't fancy him. My missus has now decided she definitely does. But when he first came in, I was like, I'm never gonna clap for a little scum bastard like that. I just can't. The last person we bought from Scum was fucking Cameron Borthwick-Jackson on loan, or Scott Wootton, and they're all infiltrators that come here with the Man United shirts on, the Man United tattoos, and the Man United shorts, and they're just here to ruin us from the inside. But that boy is more Leeds United. It's more Leeds United that he went there and fucked it, and then so I absolutely love him. I love, 5 yellow cards in his last 7 appearances, all of them for precisely the same fucking thing. And every time he does it, I'm out of my seat cheering because I think it's brilliant.
I love it.
It's great. I don't know how they don't see it coming. They all know that it's coming, but they still hold on to the ball.
Surely they've done the video analysis, and surely someone goes, this kid's absolutely rapid, and if you take a half bad touch, he's going to be all over you like a bad rash.
Yeah, and he's got no sense of whether or not, when Jesse Marsch was saying about Harrison and needing to be a bit more of a son of a bitch on the pitch. I don't think he's had that chat with Dan James because you don't need to.
For me, with Dan James, it's a good old American high five and keep doing what you're doing, kid, but put the ball in the net as well, please.
Yeah, I mean, I always say to my brother when we play football on a Wednesday night, I'm like, if anyone's got that ball and they're coming towards you, I'm going to shout, "Your man," and you're going to go over there and you're going to put both the ball and the man in the fucking stand. And to be fair, you've seen my brother play football, so he genuinely does that. But Dan James is like a little whippet waiting to put the ball and the man in the stand, and it's great, especially when it's Tyrone Mings that he's like clocking as well. Like, he picked his target well.
That against Villa was the best moment of the night where he put Mings on his arse. Best moment of the game.
I enjoyed yesterday how for the first 20 minutes it seemed to be who can kick Brandon Williams the hardest. Yeah. It seemed like a competition as to, I mean, I think Ayling had a go, Dallas had a go, Dan James had a go. They all had a pop at poor little Brandon Williams. You can only imagine he's fucking said something to him to wind him up, and they've all gone, sod it, let's do it. But yeah, I enjoyed that a lot. So I gave Dan James a 7. We'll move on to Rodrigo, and Rodrigo obviously played as a 10 or as a 9, depending on which iteration of the formation we were in at the time. But, obviously gets the first goal. Another big one for his confidence. And I think the celebration is something that I'm going to enjoy the most, in that he obviously took his moment, went and celebrated with the fans, and then was like, oh shit, we are actually winning this game. Get to the kids on the bench and we'll all celebrate as a team. I really like that from him.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're going to say the same thing. My missus is just quickly wanting to say Dan James is lovely. But with Rodrigo, obviously, we hammered him. And it's not the first time the other night. Another player we've all slagged off a million times. And that picture at the end of the game shows that he does care. And that's what we want to see. And there was effort there yesterday.
Yeah, 100%, mate. I absolutely went to town on him after the Villa game. I said, you know what? Don't put a Leeds shirt on again. Pack your bags and get yourself gone. You clearly don't want to be here. Another one who shut me right up. And the only thing I can caveat that with now is we need to see this on a more consistent basis now. It can't be... I've had the same conversation. We've had the same conversations about Tyler in the past. It can't be one good game in 6, 7, 8 appearances. It needs to... He's a Spanish international of real pedigree, and it needs to come on a more frequent basis. However, based off one game yesterday, my man of the match, Rodrigo. And the reason he's just picked others is because of the massive turnaround from only a few days before, because he was dreadful against Villa, like the worst of all of them who were bad. He was unbelievably bad. And to have that mentality, to obviously have that conversation, which won't have been easy with Jesse, I'm sure, and come out and put a performance. And yes, it's only Norwich, but you can only play what's in front of you. I thought he was absolutely superb. Endeavour, fight. He gave Brandon Williams a kick at one point early doors as well. Love to see it. Yeah. And I know this goal's deflected, but he gets himself there. He wants to be there. He wants to get in the box and affect it. And again, he's another one who the Marsh system could affect because there's less impetus on him defending. So he can go and be expressive with the ball. Another one like Rafa, who looks happier with Bamford, slightly ahead of him or alongside him, because Bamford's really good at bringing him into play. So massive positive Rodrigo yesterday. I hope the quad's not too bad, because I think Jesse said in his post-match press conference that if it hadn't have been for the injury, he wouldn't have come off.
Absolutely, yeah. That's why I flashed up that comment. Someone was asking, why did he go off? Well, apparently thigh, hamstring was a bit tight and came off, but it sounded like it wasn't ruling him out for Friday. It sounds like it was a precaution to bring him off when they did. But like I said earlier, like him and Bamford were never going to play more than an hour. They very rarely do, especially at this stage. So, obviously, Lad and Dad were there. They were in that lower tier where the Norwich fans didn't bother to sell half of their tickets and ended up coming eye to eye with Rodrigo when the goal went in. So good for them to have had that kind of experience and obviously see it so close. For me, obviously, I echo everything you've said, and I feel like people are going to think I've been harsh with the number, but it's the same number I've given 𝐃𝐿, Dallas, who I've said had a great game, and I'll come on to Harrison later. I've given him 6.5. I think he had a great game, massively improved. As I think Logan said further up there, he nicked that shot off Dan James. But, out of the two who's going to have a shot,
I'd rather it be Rodrigo.
Yeah, you would probably rather it be Rodrigo. So yeah, I'm very happy with Rodrigo's performance yesterday. Did a lot to silence the doubters, and he linked up play, I think, actually in that role, in the 10 role, really well. So I'm really pleased with his performance, and like you said, happy to be shut up. So yeah, my missus is talking to someone in the chat about why she likes me, so it's throwing me off guard here. So Logan, thank you for asking, because it's very rare I get these explanations. It's 14 years. Is it that long?
You get less for murder, Phil. Just saying.
I know.
Or Ellie, actually, Ellie, you get less for murder, mate.
But she's managed to combine an answer as to why she fancies doesn't fancy Dan James, 𝐅𝐻𝐿𝐹𝐁𝐃, and then obviously me. She has to stick with me now. We have children together, so she doesn't actually have much of a choice. So that's
what she told us, lot.
Yeah, exactly. So moving on to Bamford, and like we spoke about earlier, very much great to see him back. Very much great to see people say thank you for taking the time to explain. Very much back to being a pain in the arse to defend against, and that style of play that Jesse Marsch wants to implement is going to be absolutely vital to see Patrick Bamford in, and much like it was for the previous manager. But I'm confused by this comment. What do you mean 4 and 6? You can't go 2 numbers. I know I put 2 numbers in every one of my numbers, but does that mean 5? Please elaborate on that, John. I want to know. But I've given him a 6, and that's not me saying it's a bang average performance. I just think he did lack that match sharpness, and look, you're not going to get that match sharpness without playing minutes. So obviously, I'm more than happy to see him back on the pitch, and would like to see him last longer on Friday against Wolves if he's to start again. He is massively important to have on that starting 11, isn't he, Chris?
Yeah, massive. We've said already, haven't we? Just everything he brings to how the team plays. I went only half a mark higher, mate. I had to knock him down a bit for especially that missed chance where he put it wide of the near post.
Yeah.
But his all-round play, to say he has pretty much been out since September, apart from his cameo appearance for the goal against Brentford. I thought his whole round game, he looked pretty sharp, but he needs to obviously sharpen up in front of goal, etc., etc. So good 45 minutes from him. Hopefully he's nearer to 60, 75 minutes for the Wolves game, because with Patrick Bamford in the team, we are a better team in general. So pleased to see him back. So important. And a leader on the pitch in setting an example on how he works, and he's so unselfish with how he does stuff. He's pulling defenders everywhere, and he's an absolute shithouse as well. If you concentrate on Bamford when the ball's not there, he's an absolute shithouse. He must be a nightmare for a defender to deal with. So just thrilled to see him back, and glad he got through that 45 minutes unscathed. So yeah.
And look, I'll give Jesse Marsch another compliment here. I'm glad to see him managed in terms of his minutes. I'm glad to not see him thrown in when, it would have been really easy to do it against Leicester. Really easy to do it. And then obviously against Villa as well. Easy to just throw him on, put him in for 90 minutes and fuck it all up. And we end up back where we were a few months ago, and he's out for another 3 months. And the same against Norwich yesterday. I'm losing track of the fucking days. It would have been so easy to even just try and send him out for the first 5-10 minutes of that second half and just see how he goes. But, he said he didn't feel like he could do any more, and he didn't make him go anymore. And the last thing, like you just said, that we need between now and the end of the season is another Bamford injury. We need him 100% in this team, ideally for 90 minutes, of course. But if that's the way that we're going to be able to get the most out of him, I'm okay with, how Bielsa managed Pablo Hernandez towards that back end of the championship season, sub him off when we need that impetus coming on. Like, I think the missus has just put a comment there about, would it be better to have him first half and second half? And I'm not entirely sure. I think it was a good thing to start with him on the pitch and give him the first half, because when you look back, that first half was... He's
the opposite to what we said about Joffrey earlier.
Yes.
Paddy's an absolute terror for defences. We saw it last season against Burnley Rodrigo got the 2 goals.
Yeah.
Bamford absolutely gave them hell on earth for 60, 70 minutes. And they were done by the time Rodrigo entered that pitch. Bamford had ruined them. Yeah. So if we've got Bamford for, say, 65, 70 minutes,
then you bring
Joffrey coming on against a tight defence, I'll take it all day. All day.
And that's the recipe for disaster for any defence. Absolutely. So, yeah, I gave Bamford a 6. You went slightly higher. A lot of people in the chat in and around the same sort of numbers as us. So, we'll move on to the substitutions. Obviously, the first substitution we saw was Harrison off the bench for Bamford at half-time. Just quick one for Lad and Dad saying it was the positioning that led to the goal. Absolutely agree. Doesn't touch the ball in the lead up to the goal, thankfully. Otherwise, it would have been offside. But obviously, the fact that he's there occupying 2 defenders and making the defender head the ball straight to one of our strikers is what gives us the goal. So, yeah, Madman saying Bamford stays fit, we stay up. Fingers crossed. So, yeah, moving on to Jack Harrison. I actually was really happy with him when he came on. And like we were talking about that son of a bitch on the pitch thing, I think we saw a lot more than that.
I think people are being, and I don't know again if this is people that have slightly fallen out with Jack over recent times because he hasn't been great. I thought he was better than a 5 yesterday. There was some lovely skill in the middle of the pitch at one point. He'd sent someone for a hot dog and then skinned another 2 of them, and they just chopped him down, which led to the Rafinha hitting the bar with the free kick. And his shithousery, I love to see that from Jack. And I think I said it after the Villa game on player ratings. I want him to step up and be a leader and fire people up. And I saw that from Jack yesterday. He was just a menace, an absolute menace. So the fact he didn't have any sort of direct impact that led to anything, I've given him a 6, but it's a good 6. It's a positive 6 for Jack.
There you go, Chris. Speaking sense, and the masses have listened. Henry's immediately climbed down.
That's all right, Henry, mate. I'm always backing down, mate, and changing my mind. So we'll do it. And I think that's what a lot of people thought, you included, Phil, right? If we'd have said Bamford's coming off, right, well, then bring Joffrey on. Yeah. Replace striker for striker. But that doesn't mean that should influence our rating for what Jack did on the pitch. And I just like what he brought yesterday. Max Aaron's had to be brought off in the end. He was absolutely, his head was absolutely gone. It was gone. So, yeah, really pleased for Jack. And there's more to come. Jesse obviously likes him, but also realises that Jack needs to be managed carefully. He's very sort of fragile when it comes to the mental side. That's not me slagging him off. He's been very open about that himself. And I think Jesse will do Jack good because I think he'll put an arm around his shoulder and coax him through the tougher times. So
I think people giving him a 5, I think is quite harsh, to be honest. I've given him a 6.5. Come off the bench, and look, I can probably sit here and say, look, if the same Jack Harrison that's been around for the last 3.5 years comes out and plays all nicey, maybe I don't give him a 6.5 because, end product, maybe there wasn't a great deal apart from, he's obviously got great feet. He's obviously got a good first touch, but, that decision making is something that's lacking. And Jesse Marsh has already admitted he's got to work on that, and they will work on that. But that aggression, and look, he's always been good at pressing, but it's all right sprinting to your man and then getting there and being like, oh, it's all right, walk past me. Getting to your man and actually like leaving a foot in Dan James style and properly rattling the right back who had already played a good 45 minutes before Jack came on. And look, I don't think it's only just the shithousery and winding him up. Obviously, I do believe Max Aaron's lost his head, but it wouldn't surprise me if he was actually a bit fucking tired of getting chased and pushed around all over the place as well, So I think Jack Harrison deserves a break in terms of that performance. Let's be honest, I haven't seen, apart from the hat-trick at West Ham, too many performances this season where I have been kind. Going to the Blackburn game in pre-season, first time I actually saw Jack Harrison in the flesh, I think. Probably not, maybe once or twice before, but I was really impressed with him. And if you would have asked me at the start of the season, I'd have said he was probably my favourite player at Leeds. Him and maybe between him and Calvin, or maybe a Rafinha at the time. But I just liked watching Jack Harrison. I liked his first touch. I liked the way he runs at people and the chop when it works. And obviously the crossing from last season was so much better. And then this season has been a bit disappointing from him. You forget at the end of last season, he finished with 8 goals, 8 assists, the highest number of goals and assists from any English midfielder. We were all talking about him getting an England call-up. You know, Jack Grealish didn't get anywhere near those numbers and goes for 100 million quid. And look, I'm not saying Jack Harrison is up there or is anywhere near that. He's not. He's got a lot of work to do to reach that level. But that is from the performance yesterday, that's one way to start getting back on that ladder, because this season has taken him off that ladder. I don't think he's anywhere near an England call-up after this season, but
no.
He's still very young, and you know, he's played for the under-23s, under-21s, whatever it is, and you'd like to think that there is still hope and a door open. Whereas when you look at players like Luke Ayling, who briefly got mentioned with that England call-up last year, that ship may have sailed for Ayling, but it hasn't for Harrison. So if you wake up and apply yourself now and take on board the criticism and the constructive feedback that Jesse Marsch has clearly already given him, working on that decisiveness, and obviously getting stuck in a bit is going to be one of the things that turns Jack Harrison from incredible athlete and incredible presser of the ball and good in link-up to, right, actually has end product and is an arsehole on the pitch and can actually go somewhere. So lad to Leeds going 6. I went slightly high. Either way, look, it's not a bad performance from Jack, so it's good. The next substitution, look, we've already spoken about the sentiment and the sensibilities behind the substitution, whether it was the right decision or wrong decision. What did you make of Robin Koch coming on to sort of put us in a back 5?
This is the thing. He's at fault for the goal. He stops running, whereas if he keeps running into that space, he blocks it and just puts it out for a corner or a throw-in. So he switches off there along with the other 2 centre-backs in that back 5, Pascal and Diego. They're all carry some blame for that goal. But he's a defensive-minded player. He's actually a centre-back at heart. So it's not his fault that when he comes on, we switch mindset generally because we've lost forward impetus. I've gone the same as Gail. I've given him a 5.5. And I don't think I'm being harsh on him there. I don't, like I say, I had to knock him down half a point for the goal because he is at fault. But it's not his fault that he gets brought on, and it's potentially or it is, for I think most are in agreement, the wrong substitution. Not apart from that, mate, not really much to say on Robin. Really, he was okay in doing what he does most of the time.
Yeah, like you said, sometimes people can come off the bench, do so little that you end up leaving them on a 6 because you don't really know how much they've done. And that's kind of where I've gone with Robin Koch. He's got a 6 from me, but I could easily agree to going slightly lower. I do think they all fall asleep, let's be honest, defensively for that goal. And as if I had to pick out one thing, and I've already said it earlier on, but one thing that annoyed me a little bit yesterday is when the ball is in our box, how it's not right. We'll stay in our line of 4 or 5, however many of you are playing back there. We'll stay in our line. We'll stay compact. We'll stay rigid and solid, and we won't let them through. It's just, fuck, where do we all go? And they run around like headless chickens, flying into tackles, and it's utter chaos back there, which someone needs to come in and get a grab of all of them and go, fuck.
Well, this is it, isn't it? And this isn't the first time we've said this on this channel when the League One Liam bashers have been out. That defence misses an organiser, and Liam Cooper is that organiser. He's that leader at the back. And my God, do we miss Liam Cooper? It's rare that we see blind panic like we see when the ball's bouncing around and when Liam's there, because he's just, he's got everyone together, everyone's in the right position. And yes, he's got a mistake in him. And when a defender makes a mistake, it tends to show. But as a general leader on the pitch and an organiser, there's no one else on that pitch as good as Liam Cooper for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, I went 6 for Robin Koch. Just all right. And like you said, it's not his fault he gets brought on in a substitution that kind of just takes all the wind out of our sails. He doesn't make that decision. He's asked to come on. He'll do his job. And in a way, like all stats aren't, we would call it game state. But what we know it as fans is the way it feels inside the stadium and momentum. And when the momentum is in our favour, bringing on a defender can suck the wind out of it, just like passing a ball over someone's head out into the east stand can suck the wind out of it. And it must be really hard as a player being brought on as a substitution that wasn't really the right change to make, knowing that you've come on and the energy's just sapped a bit because you're the one that's come on. So there's that I think weighs in his favour ever so slightly. But right, everybody, you know who we're going to next. He played a subtotal of 4 minutes. Has anybody not? I know you've already given Rodrigo man of the match, so you haven't gone the same man of the match as me, but hands up, I've gone Joe Gelhardt man of the match, and he was on for 4 minutes. So, Chris, talk to me about Joe Gelhardt. Guys in the comments, get your ratings in and let me know if you've given him man of the match as well, people. I want to know.
Well, Rodrigo got man of the match for me with an 8. Joffy gets an 11. I'm absolutely buzzing for the kid. Like I said, this has been coming. The whole build-up to the goal, like you said, he's got no right to beat Ben Gibson to that header. And he just wants it more. He just wants it. There's a clip online at the minute, and it shows his face as he sets off running. And he just looks like angry almost. I don't know what he's got to be angry about, but he looks angry. And it's not just a flick on. That's what I liked about the header. It's directed into Rafinha's path. It makes the other defender look an absolute mug. Rafinha does what he does. Joffy's right where he needs to be, as I think the LUTV commentator said. We don't mention his name, but he is bang where a centre forward should be, and that's in the middle of the bloody goal. And it's a lovely fit. The kid's got such a future, by the way. Yeah, such a future. He's going to be an England international, all the superlatives, and we can get carried away. I don't give a shit anymore. He's the next Lionel Messi, all the fucking rest of it. I absolutely adore the kid. And his little face, mate, honestly, he had me so pumped when he's running away celebrating, and he's just like, because I'm just like, it's everything I remember about being a kid, but I never had that moment. Yeah. Pure, unbridled, head completely gone, joy of I've just scored the winner in the Premier League in a relegation 6-pointer or 6-pointer of any kind. The calmest man on the pitch, I think, at that moment where it comes to his left foot. I really do. He just never looked like missing.
Only for about half a second.
Even at Bamford, as that's coming across to him, and who scored 17 goals last season, at Bamford there, I'm like, please don't miss it, Paddy. Please don't miss it, Paddy. Don't sky it. Don't put it wide. Coming to Joffy, I'm like, well, that's a goal.
Yeah. No, I love the where is it? The one that I've flashed up now about he spoke really well in his interview with Dallas. Like, the thing for me with Joe Gelhardt is in the same way that I looked at Marcelo as like a granddad that was never really my granddad, and I just took an affinity to him. I kind of take Joffy on, even though he's only 10 years younger than me. I don't know. I think about 10 years. I look at him like a little cousin that I'm really proud of has actually achieved something, or like a nephew or something. Like he feels like one of us, and it's the face on him, the pure elation, and it is that being a kid of not having a fucking clue what to do. Like when the ball comes into him, calmest man in the stadium knows exactly what to do when it comes to finishing, but when it comes to celebrating a goal, he just looks lost. I always go back to the Chelsea one where he gets up and he's like, fucking yes, and Tyler Roberts grabs him by the neck and throws him into the stand, like, go in there, lad. And obviously, like, someone put in the comment, like, I'll give him a 12, but I'm taking one off for that fucking terrible knee slide. I've gone 7.5, which I hope people don't think is harsh, but he is my man of the match just for his 4 minutes. And look, after the goal goes in, there is still that little bit of panic and Tim Krul going forward, and Joffrey's chasing around like a blue ass fly, just swiping at things and not connecting, but still just, it's that you can feel that the one thing that nobody is ever going to level at Joe Gelhardt, if he ever has a bad performance, is the boy doesn't care. He will always get away with what happened at Villa. There won't be a night, I don't ever think, that I will sit and say about Joe Gelhardt some of the things I said about our players.
I know. And I think the thing is, the comparison's very easy with a young Wayne Rooney because he's a Scouser and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
But the one thing you could never label at Rooney was that he didn't. There was never a point where he wasn't trying. Whatever team he was playing in, and then yes, for a long period of that, it was scum. But he would pick those players up around him by the shirt collars and drag them forward when they weren't having a good game. And I see a lot of that in Joffrey. He will, just through his sheer will and desire to go and get that ball and do something with it, he will elevate players around him as he becomes more settled in the team and takes up a bigger role. But some talent, mate. Some talent. £1 million, absolute theft.
It's only because they were going out of business, though, isn't it? Yeah. So we literally did just absolutely take the piss. But thank you for all your comments tonight, guys. I really do appreciate it. Lad and Dad, you really are late to the show, but fuck it, I'll flash it up anyway. Man of the match for Joffrey. As Gail's alluding to, another big game on Friday. Hoping for a point, preferably 3, but that result and maybe the bits of the performance will obviously give us some confidence going into the game. And as you said, Chris, playing on a Friday night before everybody else, get the points on the board, and over to you guys, Everton, Burnley, and well, maybe not so much Brentford and Newcastle now, but Watford and Norwich, and really pile the pressure on them with doing something on the Friday night kickoff. So there's loads of content coming out over the next week over the channel. I think Scott's going to be back with his social club during the week to talk a little bit about this relegation battle and that fixture pile-up that's coming up for everybody else as well, in and around us, and how we feel about that running. So I think that's going to be a really good show. Obviously, there's going to be loads of pre-match content coming out leading up to the game, watch-alongs, and then hopefully your player ratings and everything after as well. So, Chris, thank you very much for your time tonight, mate. As always, I love doing these player ratings with you, and you managed to come through pretty much. I think, was it about 10 out of 13, 14 that were higher than me? So yeah, probably the positive one tonight. Good little role reversal for us there. Thank you guys. Thank you for watching. And if you haven't already, as the new thing that Scott's made for us says, smash the like on that side and subscribe on the other side. But if we don't see you before, have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again soon.